When I decided to slash the amount of tomatoes that I'm growing this year to less than a quarter of the amount I've grown in the past, I realized choosing which few to grow would be a challenging decision. Today I'm going to share with you which 4 varieties made the cut. In this video, I shared with you that after 10 years, I'm taking a break from canning tomatoes, which means I don't have to grow the 40 to 50 plants I've grown in the past. That meant that my favorite paste tomatoes like Roma, Hungarian Heart, San Marzano, Paesano, and Pomodoro Squisito would get the year off. Instead, since I don't plan on canning all the tomato sauce and salsa products I've canned in the past, I'm focusing on varieties that are best eaten fresh. Thankfully, last year was a stellar tomato year for me, and I grew lots of different heirloom and slicing tomatoes. I learned which ones performed the best, especially in our Arkansas summers, and which ones did not. The 3 that made the cut came from that crop, and I'm also trying a new one recommended to me by a fellow Southern gardener. So, which ones am I growing? Number 1 is Eva's Purple Ball. Eva's Purple Ball produced hands down better than any other slicing tomato that I have ever grown, and it didn't blink in the Arkansas heat. Now with this particular plant, the reason why it is so large at this point is because I actually planted these seeds earlier than any other tomato. My goal was to grow this particular variety in grow bags inside my greenhouse until I moved it out into the garden after the last frost had passed. But because I had such good germination, I do have one in the grow bag, but I decided to go ahead and use this one out here as hopefully the first producer in my kitchen garden. But that's why this one's gonna be larger than the other ones I'm gonna show you. All that to say, what I loved about the Eva's Purple Ball is it produced little pool ball sized tomatoes, and they continued producing all summer long, even in the heat. I did use it for canning, but it'd be great for slicing as well. So I felt like this in particular would be a very versatile tomato. I was really surprised at how well it did. Now understand that this was the first time I'd ever grown it, and sometimes we can just get lucky in a year. Overall, my tomatoes did really well last year, but I expect it to do as well this year, if not better, in this raised bed this summer. The second one that I'm growing is called Jubilee or Golden Jubilee. This is one that I've actually grown for many years. It's always been very dependable, very useful in the kitchen, and like Eva's Purple Ball, I found that it does really well fresh, but it also can be canned if you want to can as well. I love the beauty of the Golden Jubilee. It's like a big ball of sunshine. But I also love that it's a heavy producer, and it tends to produce really well in our hot Arkansas summers. But one thing I love about Golden Jubilee as well is while other tomatoes may decline in their production, especially as the season goes on, I found that Golden Jubilee just continues producing through our long summers. That's another reason that the Golden Jubilee earned a spot in this year's kitchen garden. Third is a variety that was actually new to me last year, and that is called Pineapple. Pineapple is a reputable heirloom tomato that I had heard great things about, and I couldn't wait to try it. But to be honest with you, heirlooms have not always done the best in my garden. I've had a little bit harder time getting them to produce abundantly, especially in our Arkansas summers. I've tried other popular heirlooms like Black Krim and Cherokee Purple because I've heard such great things about them. And while I'm sure the flavor was fantastic, I found that they had a tendency to crack more than other tomatoes did, and their shelf life was very limited. Pineapple produced a beautiful fruit that I used fresh in salsas, bruschetta, and galeta. I absolutely loved it. One other thing about pineapple that I really enjoyed was that it really did handle our heat well last year. But like the Eva's Purple Ball, that was the one and only year I've ever tried it, so we'll see how it does in this year's garden. But overall, it did so well that it earned the 3rd spot here in my kitchen garden. Finally, I'm trying a new variety, the Parks Whopper, that a garden friend in Southeast Texas recommended to me. He swears by this particular variety, so he sent me seeds and I had to try it out. Now, he is a fantastic gardener, and I don't think I'll ever be able to replicate his harvest, but last year he counted 48 tomatoes, and he said that the plant itself lasted the longest through the season than any tomato he has ever grown. That's saying something for someone who grows tomatoes in the heat of deep Southeast Texas. He also noted that he thinks they taste as good or maybe even a little bit better than Celebrity or Better Boy. Now for me, since I don't particularly like the flavor of fresh tomatoes by themselves, I'll have to take his word on it for that one. You may notice that this particular plant is smaller than the others. That was because I got these seeds planted later than the others. So in a way, I've kind of got 3 different successions of these indeterminate tomatoes, starting with the Eva's Purple Ball, which is mature, and then we've got the Golden Jubilee and the Pineapple, which are the same age, and then we've got Park's Whopper coming in behind it. So we'll kind of see how the succession planting concept, which was more accidental than anything else, goes. One other thing that I'm hoping is that with fewer tomato plants to tend to, I've just got these 4, a couple in grow bags and a couple in my green stock. I'm hoping that since I'll be able to pay better attention to each one, I'll be able to get more tomatoes out of each plant than I normally would. I'll definitely keep you updated as we continue on this kitchen garden journey this year, but I would love to hear your favorite tomato varieties in the comments, and please post your location. I've found that tomato success often depends on location, and if you found one that works in your climate, gardeners in a similar climate will appreciate the tip. One more thing before we go, let's take a look at the update of the kitchen garden just so you can see how everything is growing. Check out the carrots. These carrots are growing so well, and the Oya has done really well here watering this. I will be putting in bell peppers very soon. Probably by the time you see this, I'll have bell peppers planted. So if you're on Instagram, you can follow me at the Beginner's Garden and I'll share that with you. But these carrots are growing really strong. Love watching the growth. Over here we have broccoli and cabbage. You can see that the broccoli is already starting to make these tight heads. Absolutely gorgeous. The cabbage is a little bit further behind, but I totally expect that. They usually harvest a little bit later. And then we have that purple broccoli, jacaranda. Isn't that pretty? Look at this. This cabbage is starting to make a head. Now, you already saw the tomato garden, but you may have noticed that the other plants are in here. I just planted these peppers. I have sweet pickle pepper, another sweet pepper. This is celery in between as well. And then I've got calendula flowers, cosmos that's already blooming. Isn't that gorgeous? And I think back here, these 3 peppers, I believe, are banana peppers. And then here I've got a giant marigold or mammoth marigold. I'm not really sure, but a friend of mine gave it to me and we'll see how that goes. And then alyssum on the outside. I love to companion plant alyssum with tomatoes. Then over here we have the same type of setup, alyssum, celery. Instead of peppers in the center here, we have eggplant. So I've got that in the center as well. And more celery, more calendula, more flowers, and more of this beautiful cosmos. I think this is candy stripe. I could be wrong, but I'm excited to see how all of these flowers are going to end up beautifying this area. Follow along and I'll keep you posted.